Okay, so where to begin, Hugh?
I just want to be clear, I have 9 publicists here. So
Yeah, 9
careful.
publicists,
Yeah.
each of which equipped with a taser, aimed squarely at me. Okay, I'm going to jump right in. You'll agree with the first part of this question. As a true Hollywood narcissist, I'm going to ask you a question about you that's really about me. What is your first memory of us meeting?
It was on the set of Wolverine Origins. And we were outside of Sydney. I remember there were millions of cranes. We were shooting a night shoot. It was meant to be Africa. We were shooting Africa. And we were out there, and I just remember running into you, and I was so grateful you were there. You'd flown in. You'd just flown in, right?
I just
think
landed.
you just
I
landed.
was completely jet lagged. But also, I'd just been cast.
That's right.
I don't think I didn't. I only found out I was doing it.
Yeah.
3 weeks before, 2
Yeah,
weeks
because we'd asked a lot of people, but
a lot of people to play Deadpool. Yeah.
No, I remember that. And I remember thinking, because you landed that morning, I know what that's like when you come in and how tired you are. But it was a night shoot, your first night.
Yeah,
so
it's perfect.
It was, no, 'cause I just remember being blown away by you being there. I was so excited to meet you and so thrilled you were there. And we needed you. I remember that day very well. We absolutely needed you. And
I have some memories of that day too.
I was going to ask, in fact, it may be my first question. What is, tell me about your...
Well, I remember showing up in Sydney. That was the biggest movie I'd ever worked on at that point.
Was it really?
Oh man, I was blown away. It was so intimidating walking onto that set. I was nervous as hell. I didn't know anyone or anything about it. And I was walking through the trailers, jet lagged, disoriented, feeling really green and kind of out of my depth. And there was no script to look at. It was just like, what's going to happen? And I heard my name, Ryan, in between these trailers as I was walking, all this red clay, so I remember all that.
That's
stuff.
right.
And it was you. And you, just the fact that you knew my name meant so much to me. It really did. It was all the difference. You said, Ryan. And you came over, you gave me a big hug, and you said, welcome aboard, and this is gonna be great. We're gonna make, it's all gonna be fine. We're gonna, make you comfortable, whatever And I just remember what a consummate host you were, but I also learned so much about what it means to lead a set, what it means to be gracious to not just the people that can change your destiny, but everybody. I watched you know every member of the crew's names, have a working dialogue with every single part of that crew and those people, and how you interjected yourself into the creative process was so beautiful to watch, and how everyone around you felt so seen. And honestly, it left the biggest impression. I mean, I thought, man, if I'm ever even remotely lucky enough to be in Hugh Jackman's position in life, these are the lessons you want to get into your DNA as soon as humanly possible.
Thank you, man.
And then who knew that now my stardom would completely eclipse yours? Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, and you would just be, one of the many grunting stepping stones I've used to hoist myself up into a
And I remember first day of this, and you did the same thing. You came over and you went, Steve.
I was like,
so good to see you.
Greg. No, don't tell me. Do not tell me. But it was. I got to say that you left an impression on me that was absolutely indelible on what it means to be a movie star, what it means to be a leader.
Okay, let me just return a compliment. We're starting being sincere. So I remember one day I saw you sitting on the steps of your trailer at the end of the day, and I said, "You're right." So he goes, "I could have done that better. There's just so many things I could have done."
The elevator.
Yes,
the elevator.
The elevator. There was nothing again written. It was just the team goes up in the elevator.
Yeah.
And I think the director said, just let's banter a little bit.
You look really nice today. It's the green. Brings out the seriousness in your eyes.
Oh my God, do you ever shut up, pal?
No, not when I'm awake.
Anyway, and you were sitting on there, and I knew that look. I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "It could be so much better." I said, "You want to go back and do it?" He goes, "I would kill to go back and do it." And they were unplugging. I said, "Let's go." And I walked straight back in. I said, "We're not done. Let's go."
Yeah.
And what was shot then was what is in the movie.
Is what's in the movie. And I'll never forget that, how gracious it was to to take on the responsibility of telling everybody who thinks they're going home that we're just going to go back and we're going to get this right. And you did it. And I tell you, it's something that I think I've in all the movies that I've produced since have paid forward. In fact, one of the things I learned from that moment was working with an actor on our movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, and saying to him, what would you do on the drive home from today?
That's so good.
Do that right now in this
so
take.
Good.
And he just kind of went, yes. And he went and he did something completely different. And
Yeah.
and it's in the movie. It's so.
Thanks, man.
A lot of lessons from that.
I did really well because I complimented you in a very narcissistic way. It turned into a compliment for me.
It did, yeah. So this is a question that I think people might want to know from both of us. What's it like being over the age of 45 and trying to look like a superhero and move like an even younger Tom Holland?
Lola.
I'm aiming to move like Tom Hollander, who's a little bit older.
I love that you somehow bracketed us together in that question.
Yeah.
Very generously by saying over 45.
Sure.
You can say 55. It's
55?
okay.
Well,
55.
I have some insight into you being 55 and doing Deadpool and Wolverine that I was. Let me start then. I couldn't believe what I saw with what you did physically for this movie. Not just the aesthetic transformation, that's amazing, that's incredible that anyone could do that, but just the sheer relentlessness that you dedicated yourself towards stunts, choreography. It was the first time I'd ever seen how invaluable, and I hope any young actors are listening to this, how invaluable background in song and dance is when you are doing an action movie.
Yeah.
You hit your marks in those fight scenes with speed and confidence, the likes of which I have never seen. I don't care if you were 25, 35, 45, or 50. I could not believe what I saw.
Let's go.
Thank you, man. Brian Smurs, who's a great second unit director.
Yeah, we worked with him together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was the first person to tell me, he said, every time I hire a stuntman or someone's coming out, I say, do dance class. And they go, what?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to learn to smash a car and ride a motorbike and jump in. And he said, but there's a mixture of relaxation with the strength that you need. It's basically a choreography. And so to take a punch, it's more about the relaxation than the grunt of it. And it's true. So I approach stunts in the way I would if I'm not a dancer, but I have done a lot of dance training now and dance in my job. And I love the process of it. I love getting something into your bones, learning something. You watch something, you get it in here, and how does that get into your bones, you know? And so I really loved it. And I had got to the point, I must admit, probably 10 years ago, I was like, I'm not enjoying it. Like it was hurting, it was tough. But I've had a break. Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of dance. I've been doing stage shows and arena shows. And so when I came back to it, it was really fun and I was thrilled. My body was a little sore at the beginning. But I was thrilled and my body was still responding. And I realized how good it is for your brain. But the hardest bit, I'm going to ask you the same question. Because I've seen you and I train in the gym with you and I've seen your dedication. I've seen how hard you work at the diet and how hard you work on everything. The food. I have to
the food
eat
is hard.
a lot. For me, for my body type, I'm naturally skinny. To get the size on. That's the hardest bit. That's the bit that does my head in.
Yeah, that's me too. That's the 5-6 meals a day.
Yeah.
You know, which sounds great to some people. I'm sure they're like, well, that sounds great. But you know, it's not like, it's not the type of food that you would really necessarily enjoy. But I find that you know, one thing I've learned as I've gotten older in this business is to really, especially in movies that I'm producing and writing, like Deadpool and Wolverine, is that you listen to the movie. And I know you know this with your vast experience as well, but I noticed that in the film that we would change things quite quickly. We would say, okay, let's try this and that.
Yeah.
And particularly the physicality. I was convinced when you were coming at me a few times, like, there is no way this guy's pulling his punch. I will be decapitated by Hugh Jackman, and that will be his fucking cross to bear, not mine.
I do remember you saying, there's a lot of repressed rage in there.
Oh
dude."
man, it's your id. It's like right there, and it is as authentic as anything. When Hugh Jackman is coming at you at 150 Australian miles per hour, you feel like there's no way you're not going to be dead in 4 seconds. And I will never forget that. And thank God I'm in a mask, because under the mask, my face is going, oh God! You know,
You're being, first of all, you're so generous, and the way you, thank you, I appreciate it, I'll take it. But you're sort of under, no, it's my job to ask you, mate, what you do is unbelievable. It's the subtlety of it too. It's the comedy. I had no idea until I worked with you that really what you're doing is classic mask work, because you're in a mask.
Clown
but
work, yeah.
Clown work.
Yeah.
You have to be so expressive. That, as opposed to that, is a laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I watched how meticulous you were and how Sean would work with you. He said, I see what you're doing, but you need to have your face up more so I can see in the camera. But for you, it's the hands, it's the feet, it's the whole body position, it's everything, because this is funny, that's not funny, this is communicating that, and your meticulousness with that, I have never, ever seen before.
I love it. It's just clown work. I love clown work. I love vaudeville. I love expressing things. Silent movies I watch a lot. I mean, I love that idea of expressing without speaking, even though Deadpool's the merc with the mouth. He doesn't stop talking.
Right. But even then, the rhythm of the way you speak is the character.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I can tell part of you goes, that's it. Whether it's the verbal rhythm of a line, of the timing, or even the physicality. You go, that's it.
Yeah, it's all kind of, I always think of it just as constant writing. The movie's just, Deadpool in particular, is just never stop writing. You're writing through the edit room. I mean, and I love watching you in the edit room too, because there's a couple of moments where I'm most proud of myself if I can make you break.
Yeah.
There's a scene in our movie where it's actually, you'll never know it as we watch it, but it's actually a split screen. Because we're taking you from another take and we're using me in this take because we liked what I said, but you cracked up, and it's one of my favorite. No, it has to do with dog pool.
Got it. Yes.
It was just one of those great. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So another thing that we have in common is gracing the cover of this magazine as I believe this says "World's Sexiest Man."
I thought it was Universe.
Sounds very scientific. What was your reaction when you found out that you were the world's sexiest man?
Who paid for this?
Yeah.
How much did this cost?
Did you demand they show their work? How did you come up to this?
I need to know. What are the metrics? Yes.
Yeah.
Because I've known it for a long time, but how did you finally discover it?
4 billion headshots they went through, and they got to yours, and they were like, that's the guy.
I don't know about you, and the word sexy never, did the word, like, were people describing you, let's say you're 19, okay, pre-doing anything in the business, girls,
No,
do they ever go, oh my God, this guy's so sexy?
No.
Same.
But I wasn't a working actor. I was working intermittently at 13, but then I drove a forklift, I worked in grocery stores, I did all those,
So you weren't turning up in parties and was like,
that's that guy from, no, nobody, if anything, I got the opposite, which was like I saw that guy in that movie of the week, with so-and-so from, whatever, Falcon Crest or whatever, where I was seventh banana,
I was like, let's say my group of mates growing up, let's say there's 7.
Yeah.
I would have been voted, if I'm really honest, on a good day 3, like number 3. I might have got a bronze medal.
Definitely.
But probably just above average.
Yeah.
But around there. So if I'm struggling in my group of friends from school in Sydney.
Yeah. How is this
10 years later become? I mean, that's the what.
But also,
improvement.
If that was like what the sort of your MO or your operating system from 18 or 19, I don't know that you would have cultivated all these other aspects of your personality. True. You would have just been like, well, I'm handsome.
Hey,
can't I? Of course I can. Of course I can operate on your medulla oblongata.
What was it? Okay, what was your reaction?
Yeah, it was just mostly funny. I don't, I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with yours. I think I stapled your picture to my face in Deadpool 1.
Yeah. And it was great that you got it. I mean, I did a lot of campaigning for you.
Yes,
I don't know, do you know about what happens behind the scenes?
Yeah. Weirdly, that's such a weird super PAC. To have the people's sexiest man super PAC. Like apparently like there's like hundreds of millions of dollars in that super PAC.
There's a lot of money.
Propping people up.
There's a lot of money. Yeah. And the smart money wasn't on you, and I said, you're wrong.
No, every year it's Hemsworth, or Denzel, maybe. Yeah.
True.
Okay. So as a fellow immigrant
Yes.
to this land, what do you miss most about Australia?
Australia. Definitely the people, my family. I don't see my brothers who live there nearly enough. That my best mates. And I miss the food. I miss the ocean. I mean, the ocean, I can get that anywhere, but my lifestyle in Sydney, I wake up, coffee, unbelievable coffee. I work out, I jump in the ocean as the sun's coming up, and we watch the sun coming up in the ocean, and I think, why am I not here every morning?
Yeah.
I miss that. What about you?
For me, in terms of Canada, what do I miss? God, I find Canada to be incredibly restorative to me. I don't really hide the fact that Canada is just so ingrained in my DNA. I mean, it taught me the country seems like an additional parent to me. It really does. I mean, it taught me to laugh at myself, never take myself too seriously, but then take myself seriously when it matters, in the right ways.
True.
But it kind of, I think I came to show, I think I would have been eaten alive in show business early on in my career had I not kind of been raised by Canada.
Here's something I've never asked you. What about the kids? Like, it was a really important thing that they felt part Australian, and I'm really proud of that. My kids are, I think if you ask them, they'll say, I'm Australian.
Yeah.
And they'll say, no, I'm American too, but I'm Australian.
Yeah.
How are you with the kids? Is that
I
something
love
for you?
that. Yeah, my kids are very much, they have their Canadian passports as well, and they feel like a real connection to that. It's a point of pride of theirs. They've also spent huge amounts of their formative years in Canada, and particularly Vancouver. I mean, we shot Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 there. I had only one child in Deadpool 1, and I had two on Deadpool 2, but hopefully we don't do a Deadpool 8 because I don't want 8 kids. But they no, they love being from Canada. They tell people they are. I'm half Canadian, half American.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Mate, you've been pretty open with your anxiety struggles, which I really applaud you for. Do you find being a dad makes it better or worse?
I think it makes it better because your focus is less on yourself and more on your kids. I know you know that too.
Yes.
And then I love that I have anxiety. I love that I've had anxiety because when I see my kids experiencing some of that, which is probably genetic, I know how to address it in a way that is compassionate. I know how to address it in a way that actually allows them to feel seen in that anxiety. And I know that I can't just fix it. And I can communicate all that stuff to them and with them, and I'm always kind of grateful for it. And my job benefits greatly from that. People who have anxiety are constantly thinking into the future. You're constantly, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? Right. So you're always telling yourself stories. So when you're working in movies and you're constantly I'm not just like when we're shooting Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm not just shooting the movie. I'm also sitting in the audience as its harshest critic. Going, I don't like that, don't buy that, So anxiety kind of creates that sort of ecosystem of awareness that I wouldn't otherwise.
I really applaud you for it. I think it takes courage to speak about it, and it's helped a lot of people. Because a lot of people come up to me talking about you, and I say, shut up, I'm not interested. But they keep talking about you. But lot of them will say that and say, I can now tell my son, I can tell my daughter, it's helped me,
Yeah, I think men too. I don't know why men have an issue talking about their feelings. If I don't,
I recently, it's a change for me, talk to my kids. I was a little bit old school. I thought, don't burden them if you're anxious. And then all of a sudden someone said to me, he said, but when you get anxious, say you've got an opening night or you're hosting the Oscars, for 3 weeks before, my mind, and I go a little distant. And he said, but your kids don't know that you've got the Oscars. That's why maybe they're thinking you're mad with them. They've done something. And I was like, oh, no, really?
Yeah.
And so now I will now say to them, I had to make an uncomfortable phone call yesterday. And I actually just said to my son, I said, I've got to make this uncomfortable phone call. I'm a bit nervous about it. If I seem a bit off, well, that's why. And he goes,
great.
Oh. And then he said, how did the call go, Dad? I said, I feel so much better. Like it was.
And he feels a part, because you're his hero. He feels a part of your world as well. It's Sean Levy actually told me something that stuck with me forever too, is that people tend to only talk about their wins. But I think it's really important for your kids in particular to know that you lose.
Right.
You know, you don't get what you want all the time. Something you worked on really hard didn't work.
Yeah.
Something you feel like you said something embarrassing today. You did something that didn't
Yeah.
sit right with you. It's so important that they see that and they don't just hear about, Dad nailed it, you know, like, because
right.
you lose so much more than you win.
True.
But anyway, Sean gave me that, and it's really stuck with me.
We've been friends for like almost 20 years.
Yep.
What's the secret sauce to a long-lasting Hollywood friendship?
I think the secret sauce to a long-lasting Hollywood friendship is not too dissimilar to having a partner, a marriage as well. I mean, since the day I met Hugh Jackman, I am genuinely rooting for you every time, all the time. Like I want you to win, and I know you to be a person that often puts others in front of yourself. And it's not a show. I see you do it in quiet. I see you do it loud. I see you do it in every instance. And I think of you a little bit as this guy that kind of like, you know, will grab the ticking time bomb and fly away into the atmosphere, into space, and let it explode, and you know, and save all the people in the ground. They'll, oh God, he saved us again. He did it again. He did. But what they don't know is that Hugh Jackman is now floating through space, frozen, cold, alone, and armless because a bomb went off. But I so admire those qualities in you and love that in you. And since the day we met in Sydney, I root for you. I just want to see you live the most full-throated life that you can possibly live. So I think it's not just the same way I feel about Blake, as I'm rooting for her. I know she's rooting for me, and it's why we're so connected. So I think that's probably maybe one reason. I don't know.
That's, again, beautiful. Thank you. And I agree. I think for me, friendship is you feel, and why there's probably fewer friends in our life than we would say.
Yeah.
That you can say anything to.
Yeah.
The stuff you're ashamed, embarrassed, anything. And ever since I've known you, and I would say in particular in like the last 10 years, 5-10 years, we've had more time where we go for our walks, because you're an unbelievable listener. I guess I hadn't put it together. Deep down, I know you're rooting for me, and you know I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
So you can tell me anything, and I can tell you anything, and I don't feel like you're going to be judging it or necessarily giving me the answer, do this.
Yeah.
And I think that has been the key.
Yeah, we rely on each other for
Yeah.
the real kind of advice that you want, you know.
And your apartment that you let me know.
The roommate that keeps on giving, Hugh Jackman.
I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too, buddy.